Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mystics MMOs. I'm your host, Mystic Raven. So, I want to put a rhetorical question out there. Is ZOS finally listening? Well, it would seem so. And in today's video, I'm going to finally say, oh my god, thank you, ZOS. Finally! Fucking finally! I want to talk about the set Rally Cry and why. I mean, there is some issues, but sets like this have been requested by myself for some time now. I have the videos to prove it, of course, to back it up. And I've said for years what group PvP needs are sets that act like PvE sets, right? For group play. See, the problem with Elder Scrolls in Cyrodiil is it is designed for siege warfare. It was designed to do that. It's literally an RVR game. But the community has toxified and smudged that representation of PvP. Right? You're a Zergling. Oh my god, or something along the lines. And I said, what needs to happen to bring back this, element is group sets. Conditional sets that promote group play. Now, I still think they need to bring out something like arenas and have sets that represent, an arena PvP element that are group like this, like group oriented. Kind of like your dungeon sets, right? And this, once again, what's this set do? First off, the set's really good. It gives critical chance, gives maximum magicka critical chance while in battle spirit. Now keep in mind, you have to be in Cyrodiil. Once you're in, or any form of PvP, even, BGs will work. But when you're in PvP, battle spirit is apparent. And while it's active, meaning this set will only work in PvP conditions, critically healing yourself or an ally causes you and up to 11 other group members within 12 meters to gain 300 weapon and spell damage and 1,650 critical resistance for 20 seconds. Each group member affected reduces the weapon and spell damage by 15 and critical resistance by 83. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. Right? So that, to me, is an amazing set for, PvP. Now, it's found in Cyrodiil, which, once again, incentivizes you to play in Cyrodiil. Now, I've always said they need to get away from the boxes. Because if we're going to get it in, and there's no way to test it on, I'm assuming it's going to be, in Rewards of the Worthy, which is kind of, they need to do it like Vicious Ophidian and some of the other sets where you take your AP and then you get, you can try to obtain the set, honestly. But this incentivizes PvP. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it should only be one-sided. We need sets like this to incentivize multiple forms of PvP. We need sets that, once again, reintegrate that you can find down in the sewers. We need sets that you can find in Cyrodiil. We need sets that you can find in Battlegrounds. Battlegrounds hasn't had any revamped sets from, since we've gotten the last, Plaguebringer and stuff. And to me, this is what PvP is needing. I mean, it's always good to incentivize PvP. And what you want to do is you want to promote DLC, participation, but not penalize the PvP community, or, antagonize the PvP community with making PvP content irrelevant to its counterpart. And I feel like this was a step in the right direction. It's the beginning of something that I hope that ZeniMax continues to, do. And I've put out the suggestion for them to use disclosure that they can utilize it without me seeking any monetization or retribution. And that's the idea that you can take AP, go to a zone, like, like let's say I wanted to, I was a PvPer. I don't want to be in dungeons. I'd rather be PvPing. But I want a set from, the last chapter. That would be fine, but here's the deal. I have to own the DLC and then go to Blackwood, and there would be vendors there that have a chance to throw random loot from a coordinated dungeon, as long as I owned, as long as I owned the chapter and had ESO Plus. Those vendors then, if I didn't, would not be offering me the availability to purchase those coffers. And coffers would be random. And this would keep PvPers in PvP, right? Still looking for PvE sets to make their builds, and thus making it, a win-win for, and now that doesn't affect the Undaunted passive or obtaining those things that need to still occur, and I don't think it should, but it would keep PvPers incentivized to keep PvPing without the obligation to PvP. Now, arena weapons, we can't go there because that's a whole different ballpark. But, I wanted to cover this. I wanted to go over it because, somebody's like, are you going to go over, the new DLC? And I was like, from a statistics point, I don't think there's a lot of niche sets, right? There really are a lot of niche sets that are coming out with this setup. Very niche. Things that I don't, see like being very, prominent, as far as like, oh my God, you should totally have this set. It's it's something, whatever. The only set for PvE I see being a necessity, even a necessity for PvE, is Turning Tide. This is the only set for a tank that I see completely, you're not going to go without. You're not. You're just not. It's not going to happen, right? It's just not going to happen. When you block, you gain flowing water for 10 seconds, causing your next bash attack to deal 3016 magic damage to up to 6 enemies in a 5-meter line, and apply major vulnerability. Okay, so let's... I gotta get another piece. Alright. No. Okay, so when you block, you gain flowing water for 10 seconds. Cause your next bash attack. I think you might be needing to get hit. I gotta put on the icons. Well, I might have to go fight something. It's not going to be like bash like this, I believe. I believe it is your sword and board bash. So let's get a sword and board on here, just really quick. We'll make absolutely sure, you know. Dragon Star, sword and board should be good. I don't care if it's whatever. You know what? I fucked up. I wanted the master, but I got the mouse. It don't matter. Fuck it. Mystic. Alright. Alright. Now. Now there is a bash, power bash, but it just says bash. So we have to assume that it's just the regular bash, and we'll go get into something just to whatever. Should be like zombies right outside this gate thing, so it won't be too bad. Because I haven't equipped a mount or anything. But I was like, that set and this PvP set are the only two sets that I really see. Statistic wise, everybody's talking about, you know, and I've already went over that on my last build, you know, about the scale factor now, right? How it's your highest stat, it's your highest associated stat that is going to be the contributing factor towards your damage. It's called associated scaling. Okay, that's what it's called. Okay, associated scaling. Now,
over here,
now personally, you know, I don't expect to really help the ESO community since, you know, the meta gods know everything, and it's like, okay, but, you know, because, you know, dumbass trolls would just make people believe Mystic don't know what he's talking about. All right, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah. Yep, it's just the regular bash. And you'll see the major vulnerability. It's the purple. They're highlighted in purple, and as soon as it drops, you got a couple seconds. Oh, I'm out of stam. And then people reapply. Currently, there is only very, you know, limited ways to obtain major vulnerability, right? So this set is now going to be a standard, right? You could have utilized a necro tank for the ulti, but this becomes a lot more, you know, reliable as far as uptime. And of course, it's, you know, power creeping in the long run. But when a lot of people complain about group configuration and the needs and don't needs, it really pits the community against itself because of class availability, right? Like at some point in time, you don't necessarily need a Templar healer, right, to be in group. It doesn't have to be a Templar healer that's the group healer to get the passive, though most Templar healers don't even apply the passive, right, properly for the minor sorcery. However, you do still need a Templar to obtain minor sorcery from the skill line for activation. But people would just assume, because the meta gods say, it's the Templar healer, but they still don't use one of the best drain, AOE drains. They much rather use a single target versus an AOE version. And this is why I ridicule them time and time again. And then if they claim that I feed misinformation, but I've proven these things time and time again in the videos to, show proper. And I tell people, don't believe me, test it for yourself. I will give you the information. I don't anticipate you to believe me. I anticipate you to check it out to verify that. And if it works, good. And if it don't, hey, have at it. Do what you will. But that is, I try to want people to be objective and to be educated and to, question everything appropriately and don't assume anything. So, yeah. But at the end of the day, I wanted to go over this because somebody had asked me, hey, are you going to do anything with the Ascending Tides DLC? And I'm like, there's not much to go over, honestly. There is just not a lot really to go over. I think a lot of people were like, oh my god. It's, we've had the passive changes for it'll be 3 DLCs when this launches for light and medium. And now it takes the Metagods 2 updates to figure out that if you're going to use a medium, if you're going to use a stam, you put them in light. And I've said this multiple times because of the way the passives work now, right? In the light armor, mag tunes, you will put 2 medium. And a lot of people are like, well, there's a cap on, critical damage output. I'm aware. The thing about that is, though, you have to hit 125%. Even if you use a kit, you're getting 1. And typically, depending on the group composition, you can, prevent reaching cap, but still maximize on the spell damage associated to the passive. So rather than sitting on a pathetic 6,000 spell damage, you can now exceed well over 7,000 spell damage. And that's relevant. So, yeah. Of course, sustain does become an issue, and that's why you only do 2. And for, your medium armor, you might have to take into consideration proper glyphing into, a jewelry tray if you are 5 light, but you're better off doing such because, stamina configurations can well exceed. And I've already said that Stam are going to use a Maelstrom staff, and of course they're using the Maelstrom 2H, but once again, everything I've said is been validity, has validity to it. It's now being confirmed by the same people who condemn me, and I find that very hypocritical and ironic that those who would question me would once again adapt to what I have to say, and yeah. Pretty much. But overall, there's only like 2 sets I actually think that are very, everything else is very niche. But, I think that ZOS has finally stopped and taking note for the PvPers. Like, okay, yeah, we do have a problem here. And I think especially when New World dropped, New World is still once again kind of adapting. But I did want to go over this, and to address those who would ask me, because I've said I will still PvP in ESO. The PvE, there's just not much for me to do, because I don't necessarily, for one thing, I'm very impatient. If I do trials, and I do from very, very rare occasions, vet trials, my patience is very thin. And I expect people to be competent, Don't bitch. We'll walk through it. We'll get it done. And, just be competent. A lot of times there's not a lot of people who are competent. And, and then once again, then what's my incentive? That's the question. Everybody's different, but, once again, I would much rather prefer, if there's gonna be drama, it's gonna be drama that's questionable, from a numbers perspective, not, you know, whether or not individuals can complete said content. So, anyway, regardless, I'm going to let you guys go. As always, I'm Mystic Raven. This is Mystic's MMOs. Peace.